Learn how to create options so you can create yourself income every single week. Only 2 strategies you need to know: sell a put, sell a covered call. Don't trade stock, hope and pray that your stock goes up. No, make money whether it goes up, goes down, or stays sideways. Watch this video. This is a full live event that I did that talks all about walking through exactly how to sell a put, how to sell a covered call, how to choose what stock to trade, how to choose what strike price, how to choose the expiration date. Now do me a favor, click the subscribe button in the bottom right. I'm literally putting up a video each and every day for 1,000 days. Let me know what you want to see next and I'll do a video on it. Let's jump right in. Hey everybody, welcome. And I think you guys can all see my screen. Actually, maybe not yet. Give me a moment here. So first of all, without further ado, I want to get started. Welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm Michelle Kinney, as probably all of you know. We're going to talk about selling options for weekly income. We're going to take a deep dive and we're going to go through exactly how to do that. 2 strategies you need to know: how to sell a put, how to sell a covered call. This is for people who are just starting as well as people who have some experience. So I'm going to go through from the beginning how you can use options really ultimately to create a better lifestyle, because that's why we're all here, right? We're not here to just, I don't know, make some paper, because what does that mean? There is a Q&A here, so feel free to put your Q&A in the Zoom here. And I may not go through Q&A during the session. Some questions I probably will, but for sure at the end, I'm going to go through Q&A. I have my helper, Nina, here, who's going to help me as well. And my intention is that all you guys, you're taking out time out of your busy day. I appreciate that. And what I want for you is I want you guys to learn. So if you have a question, don't feel bad. Maybe you think it's a stupid question or something like that. There's no stupid questions. This is new for some of you guys, so don't worry about that. Let's see, just some pop-ups on my screen and I'm getting rid of those. And yeah, so we're just going to get started and we're going to rock and roll. And I appreciate the hearts that you guys are sending as well. So as we get started, I just want to kind of start with who I am, right? I've been trading a really, really long time. So I started trading a long time ago, back in 1997, commodity futures and options, kind of shifted over to stocks a long, long time ago. Traded professionally for a period of time, quite a while actually. And I've been trading for myself exclusively, living off my income from week to week for a long time, for decades, since 2015 with no other income. And so my intention is I want to share all the knowledge, right? So I've had thousands of trades. Some were great, some were not great. I've learned a lot of things along the way. Ultimately, your account is your account. You're responsible for your own trades. I'm just here to help, right? So I'm here in an education capacity. You make your own decisions. Obviously, there's going to be risk in the market. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not specifically telling you, hey, you should do this or you should do that. You got to, consider your own scenario, right? I'm just talking to a whole bunch of people. We filled up this class. So props to you for being in it. I think it was like 3 days. So 100 people, I kept it at 100 just because I didn't want overwhelming, too many Q&A that I wouldn't have time for. So I'm glad that you guys are here. Sometimes people ask, am I going to send the recording out? No, but I'm probably going to put this on YouTube. So you're going to have this on YouTube so you can refer to it. Keep in mind, the stock market always has risk. What we want to do is try to identify the risk and minimize that. But there is risk and you can lose some or all your money. That's the proper disclosure to put out there. Who this is for, I kind of said a moment ago, if you don't have any experience, it's totally fine. You're in the right place. If you do have experience, but maybe you're not getting the results you want, you are in the right place. Listen, I've been making my income off of trading for a really long time. So the stuff that I have to share with you is really good stuff. So I'm excited that you're here. All you really need is a desire and determination to make things happen. And you guys are action takers because you're here. You know how many people talk to me on a regular basis and say they want to learn? And friends of mine sometimes, and then they just don't make time for it. So you guys are here, so pat yourself on the back for that. Yeah. This is not for you if you want to buy options. If you say, hey, I want to I got $100 to invest, Michelle, and I want to make $1,000 off of that. This is not the program for you. You want to maybe look at some day trading or go to the casino or something like that. Also, like if you're like, oh, I think this price is going to go up or I think this price is going to go down, this is probably not for you either. Listen, what I try to do is create weekly income on a regular basis, regardless of whether a stock is going up or down, or maybe it's staying sideways, because I still have things I want to pay for, right? So I'm not here with a crystal ball to tell you, hey, I think blah, blah, blah is going to go up and now is the time to do that. No. So we're going to talk about how we trade as the program goes forward, but this isn't a gambling thing, right? I want you to think, just before we get started, I want you to think about why you're here. Why do you want to make money, right? Again, it's just like these paper dollars. Like, what does that mean? Like, what's that for? I took some time and I put together, I went through my camera roll and I just put together some pictures that were important to me and what drives me to make money, to trade options in order to make money. So I have a couple things here. My kids are, of course, a big part of my life, and really everything that I do really goes toward experiences that I create with them, right? So on the left was when my daughter graduated college in Boston. I'm not a big fan of college or education in general. I think it's not necessary, but she wanted to go, and I was grateful that I paid for that. So that was kind of a cool picture for me. My son, Adam, on the right, when he graduated high school, Beverly Hills High. At the top, on a boat trip in the Virgin Islands. In the bottom, we flew business class to Turkey. That was, I forget when, a few years ago. I think it was maybe somebody's birthday. I don't remember. The left side, my kids were young at that time. My son used to take flying lessons when he was 12. So that was a while ago, a few years back. But options helped me do things like that, right? Of course, my car is on the right. I always wanted a 911, and I've had some really cool cars in my life. And I'm not bragging. I don't say it in a braggy way. Listen, I'm saying it because I want to inspire you. I could do it. You could do it. I'm not special, right? Like we all have the same skills. These are skills. Options trading are really not that hard strategies. They're two simple strategies that you need to learn. So it's not in a braggy way, but in an inspirational way. And I want you to think about what motivates you so you can take action and make it happen, right? There's different ways to make money in the market, right? So first of all, the traditional way, you can use a financial advisor and buy some goofy mutual funds or some ETFs. And maybe you could do that. I think financial advisors are usually not much different than like a car salesman. A lot of them don't even know anything about stocks. They're just salespeople who want your money because they get paid a piece off of all the money that you invest. And all the strategies that we're talking about in all the videos, I think all of you guys are here from my YouTube channel. And I'm always doing videos with walking through all different tickers. And no matter what ticker or what trade I walk through, you're always going to really get a return that's far better than any mutual fund. Mutual funds, like they think they're amazing when they do like 10%, and their average is maybe 8% on an annual basis. That's what they say long term, what their average is, right? Why do that when you could do quadruple that, and have control of your own account? Of course, you can buy stock. And what's the problem with stock, right? I buy stock, I hope and I pray and I wait for that to go up. First of all, I can only make money when it goes up, number one. So that's a problem. And number two, probably bigger problem is, does that put cash in my pocket? Let's say I buy some NVIDIA stock and it shoots to the moon. I don't actually make any money or put any cash in my pocket until I sell that stock. Well, what if I don't want to sell the stock? That is a fundamentally broken system. I did a video today. As you guys know, I've been putting up one video every single day. I think it's like, I don't even know, like 130 days or something so far. And I'm going to go 1,000 days. I was including the live streams. So if you haven't caught the live streams, you have to do that, because I was using a paper account, but next week I'm going to start using a real account. I need to open a separate real account, and I'm going to walk through live stuff so you guys can see exactly A to Z how to make this happen and how to create the lifestyle that you want. But going back to stock, like it's a fundamentally broken system that I'm going to buy some stock and hope and pray and wait for that to go up to put cash in my pocket when I can just sell a put on it. So we're going to talk about that in this session. Also, crypto. I love crypto, but you can capitalize on crypto gains selling options on crypto kinds of companies without actually holding Bitcoin or Ethereum or Ripple or whatever the trendy coin of the, I don't know, of the week is, right? It's got the same problem. It goes up, I make money on paper, but I can't spend it. Dude, can you spend the money that you got on paper? No, you can't like bring that to the grocery store, go out to eat with that. I don't know, go on vacation, whatever. No, that doesn't work. Of course, you can also day trade. So I had somebody on my YouTube channel like talking all about day trading. Okay, that's cool. And if you make money day trading, that's great. Most people don't make money day trading, and they certainly don't make money day trading for an extended period of time, right? And it's hard to do. I don't want to listen. I trade to live. I don't live to trade. I've said that a few times before. I'm gonna say it again here. I don't want to be staring at computer screens all day, and I don't want to be like freaking out and like having all that stuff, like all those emotions, all those crazy like roller coasters, trying to scalp a few cents off of a trade. So this is a better way, in my view. So I'm going to show you in this video how you get paid the same day. You don't have to buy something or sell something and wait for it to go somewhere. You get paid in your brokerage account right then and there. You lock in your gains every single week. Listen, you can trade options like 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 months. Sometimes people put comments on my YouTube. They sold some blah 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 for like 1 year out. I don't do that. You could do that if you wanted. I like to lock in my gains every single week so they're realized. So it's like cash in my pocket. I can spend it. The risk is off the table and I move on to the next trade. So that's what we're going to talk about in this program. Also, I said it before, but with options, you don't only make money if your stock is going up. Listen, stocks don't go straight up in the air. What do? They go like this. Look at any chart, pull up any chart on any stock, and most of them will go like this, right? Over the long term, good stocks go up, right? For sure. But they chop all around. Why take that roller coaster ride, on that stock when you could just lock that in every single week? And probably one of my most favorite, listen, you have no customers, no employees, and you can literally do it from anywhere in the world. All you need is a laptop. You don't even really need a laptop. Some people trade with a phone. I personally don't do that. First of all, I have trouble seeing like a small screen, and there's stuff that you can't see on a phone that you can see on a laptop. But the point remains, like, you don't really need anything. You can be on the beach, you can be in the US, you could be on vacation, you could be anywhere you want, and you can make money. There is no better. Put in the Q&A if you can think of anything. Literally, I dare you. Can you think of anything that is better at making money than options trading, where you have no customers and no employees and you can do it from anywhere? I don't think it exists. I don't have anything in the Q&A. I'm going to assume that that's because nobody has any better idea than that, right? So let's get moving. Also, just kind of a heads up. I've been in New York and it's cold here. So my throat is a little bit dry. It's a little bit cracky. I have some water glasses next to me. But in case I sound kind of funny, that's the reason why. Listen, 2 strategies you need to know. Lots of times people talk about all different types of things: iron condors, credit spreads, diagonals, lots of different things. And some of them I have to actually look up on Google. I'm like, okay, I think I might have heard of this before, but I don't even know what it is. This stuff can be easy if you make it, or it can be hard. If you want to make it hard, you start looking at some of those other strategies. I focus on 2 strategies. Things that are easy can be repeatable, right? Things that are hard they're hard to repeat. And this is not about making money for like 1 month, 1 week, 1 month, 1 year even. This is about making money for the rest of your lives. 2 strategies: how to sell a put and how to sell a covered call. That's what we're going to go over today. If there's anything that people want to know as well, just put it in the Q&A, and that way I can be sure to cover it before we finish today. All right. Also, when I talk about two strategies, a lot of times people ask me, actually, it's really cool that I got this YouTube channel because a lot of people give me questions and it helps me understand a little bit better, like what a lot of people think or what they don't think or what they have questions about. So a lot of times people will ask like, well, how does I don't have $100,000, Michelle. I don't have $50,000. I'm just starting off and I got 5 grand saved or I got 10 grand saved. How does that work? Or, how's that going to work for me? Right? These two strategies work whether you have a big account or whether you have a small account. The only difference is if you have a small account, you have to focus on less expensive tickers, right? Less expensive stocks. So you can't, let's say, necessarily trade, I don't know, Tesla as an example, $400 a share. You can't sell a put on Tesla if you have a small account. You can do other things, perhaps that track Tesla, or you can do other types of companies, but it works the same thing. You're just restricted to what tickers you can trade. Yeah, I said this before, but I put it on a slide. And by the way, this session is different. Like all these slides are different. I've done similar sessions of this before, and I'm sure I'll do more again. But I try to make everything like super relevant, super up to date. So I'm not giving you like content that I talked about. This is new content. I mean, it's the same strategies over and over again, but it is new content. So trade to live. Listen, you don't want trading to like dictate what you're doing. People ask me sometimes, when do you trade? When do you put a trade in? Like, how does that work? I heard the first 20 minutes of the market being open were the best time to trade. I trade when it's convenient for me, right? So sometimes I'm doing stuff. Like sometimes, I don't know, like tomorrow morning, as an example, my kids flew with the family dog and he's not feeling well, so he's got a vet appointment at 9:30 in the morning. So Mondays and Fridays are generally my favorite days, right? Because Monday you put new trades on, Friday you have things expiring. But I'm doing what I'm doing, the things that are important to me, and then I trade around that. There's a lot of this, as we get going, you're going to realize there's really not a lot of like, hey, this is right or hey, this is wrong. Some things there are, and I'm going to point those out to you as we move along. But a lot of things, there's not a right or wrong. It's like okay, you trade when it fits in. You don't look for perfection on a trade that you're going to do or how much premium you're making or whatever the case might be. And it's just all this gray area. So it's not hard. So let's start with kind of like talking about a put, right? So there's two strategies. There's like selling a put and there's selling a covered call. So we're going to start with selling a put. What does selling a put mean? I mean, basically, you're just committing to buy someone else's shares if they crash, right? So let me give you an example. Let's say Jane Smith in Idaho has 100 shares of Apple, and she doesn't want to lose all her money if the stock crashes. She buys insurance, right, from you or from me, right, when we sell options. So she pays us premium, right? So she pays us a premium, and what we're doing is we're committing to buy her shares if her stock crashes. Now, if her stock doesn't crash, we don't buy the shares, but either way, we're going to keep that premium. It is literally just like car insurance. So people purchase car insurance, like, hey, I have car insurance on my Porsche. If I smash it, I don't want to pay to fix that. I want somebody else to pay for that. I want to shift the risk over to somebody else, right? This is the same thing. Now, just like car insurance, when I pay a premium to insure my car, and then if I don't have an accident, nothing happens, they don't give me my money back after that 1 year or 6 months are up, right? No, like they keep the premium and they're promising to fix my car if I smash it. If I don't smash it, they don't fix it. This is the same thing. So I'm promising to buy someone else's stock if their stock crashes. If their stock doesn't crash, I don't buy the shares. Either way, I keep the money that they pay me. Does that make sense to everybody? Put in the Q&A if that's not clear or if you have trouble like following that, but it's a pretty easy concept, right? So that's basically what selling a put is. There's a couple rules when we talk about selling a put. The most important rule is this. You only want to trade a stock that you're going to be okay buying if the price dropped to that level, right? So for example, let's say I sell a put on Apple, right? And Apple's $100. I'm just going to use round numbers. Let's say Apple's $100 and I sell a $90 put. I'm saying, okay, I'm okay buying that stock if it drops below $90. If it doesn't drop, I'm not buying the shares, right? Either way, I keep the premium that they pay me. So I'm choosing the strike price. The strike price is the price at which you're okay to buy the stock if it drops to that level. You also want to make sure that you have enough money in your account. So I said a moment ago, like if you have a $5,000 account, you're not going to sell a put on Tesla. Why? Because if you had to buy shares at $400, you don't have enough cash to do that. Even if you're using margin, you don't have enough cash to do that. So you want to make sure you have enough money to trade the stuff that you're trading in your account. So that's important. Start with one contract. So many people talk about like, oh my gosh, I'm only going to make $20. I'm only going to make $50. I'm only going to make $100, whatever that number is. Listen, everything is relative. One person thinks this amount of money is a lot of money, and somebody else thinks that that's like nothing, right? So there's not like this standardized black and white, a lot of money or a little bit of money. That's why I encourage you guys always, when we sell a put, and we're going to walk through it as this session continues today, we're going to calculate the percentage rate of return. It's not the dollars. It's like, how much money am I taking in? How much money am I putting up to make that trade? What's my rate of return? Is it good or is it not good? Am I making, 1% for the week? Well, hey, if I was making 1% for the week, that's 52% a year if I made a trade like that every week, right? I would say 52% is a pretty good number, but maybe the dollar value is small because you're putting up a small amount. So you want to keep that in mind. But going back to like when you're new, don't be a cowboy. Don't be selling 5 things of this or 10 things of this. Don't do that. Why? Because you don't want to look at the dollars like, hey, I'm going to make X dollars, right? And yeah, let me go celebrate. And then if that stock drops like a rock, then you're buying 500 shares at a price here, and then the stock is trading here. Maybe you don't have enough money to sell another put or something like that. So you want to recognize that. These are all like very basic, very logical things maybe you don't think about because trading is new. And that's why I want to help you, and I encourage you to look at it that way. Also, when you're new, just do 1 week out. Listen, don't do 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 months. A lot of stuff can happen 6 months from now. You don't know where the thing's going to go, right? You don't know what's going to happen in the environment. Like, look at the government shutdown. Nobody anticipated that I don't know, that was like the longest in history or something. And it wasn't anticipated ahead of time. So just do 1 week out. Use a low delta. We're going to talk about delta, as we go through. But basically, it's like the statistical likelihood that a stock is going to go below a certain price before the contract expires. So use something that's super far away. If a stock is trading at $100 right now, maybe sell an $80 put, right? You're not going to make a lot of money, but it's very, very, very far away from where it's trading. Hence, not that likely that you're going to have to buy the stock. So these are like steps that can help set you up for success. There's nothing worse than like a new person starting out and they go too heavy, right? And they get super excited, they go too heavy, and then all of a sudden they sell 5 of something, and then they're overextended and they didn't realize it, right? So you don't want that to happen. I made a list here of just a couple of things I made a list here of just a handful of stocks. Actually, I looked it up online, the Dow 30, right? So just kind of, a lot of times people say, well, where do I start, Michelle? I don't know where to start. I just sorted it by dollar, by stock price. So with the least expensive this way, and then the most expensive this way, right? So these are like the 30 biggest companies, right? The Dow 30. They're probably not going to go out of business, right? So here's the thing. When you're trading, when you sell a put because you're committing to buy a stock, if it goes down, the worst case that happens is you're going to buy that stock on sale. So you want to make sure it's a good, solid company, right? You want to make sure it's not some fly-by-night company that might not be around, a year from now or 6 months from now. So these are big companies. I'm not recommending any particular one, but it's like a starting point. Oftentimes, people will trade what they know, right? like I haven't traded Apple for a long time, but I'm a big Mac person, right? So I have an iPhone and a MacBook. Apple all the way. I think Microsoft is terrible. And so for a long time, I just traded Apple. I know Apple. I'm familiar with Apple. I'm comfortable with Apple. And it was a good thing. Like I know worst case scenario, okay, maybe the stock goes down and there's some temporary period where I might have a paper loss, but I don't actually take a loss unless I sell my stock for less than what I paid. And I never do that. I'm not going to do that. That's the only thing that makes people lose money is that you sell something for less than what you paid. We're going to talk more about that as we go. If your account is small, right? So this listing up here shows kind of like the biggest, I don't know, 30 companies, but some of them are expensive, right? So I mean, the cheapest one is 41 bucks. Verizon is not that expensive, but maybe you don't have that much money and you're just starting out with 2,000 bucks, 5,000 bucks or something like that. I just put an idea, start with ETHA. ETHA is based on Ethereum. And again, I'm not making recommendations because the last thing that I want to happen is somebody says, "Hey, I saw this program that this girl did on online and she told me to buy this stock and then that thing went down and I lost all my money and it's not my fault." Too many people walk around in general in life, right? Like blaming other people and not taking responsibility for their own actions. Listen, I'm just saying, like, if your account is small, ETHA is not going to hurt you because ETHA is based on Ethereum. And whatever you believe about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, it is never going bankrupt. It's only going up over time. It may have volatility. In fact, it will have volatility over time, but over the long term, it will go up. And ETHA is like a $20 stock. So it fits with a small account. We're going to walk through as we go forward in this program. We're going to walk through kind of an example on how that looks. I'm going to show you my screen, my trading screens, and I'm going to show you all the buttons to push. I'm helping you. Listen, this is good content, guys. But you got to take action. So we're going to talk about this at the end. I mean, I don't. The last thing I want is people to be here and you get all excited about trading options, and then you, I don't know, you get too scared and you get paralyzed and you don't move forward. ETHA is a good one just to start with. Even if you have a big account, it's a good one to start with because it's not that expensive. And it's good also. And the rate of return is super high. I'm going to show you when we go through. So listen, when we're selling a put, there's only a handful of things that we have to do. We have to pick the stock that we're going to sell a put on. What ticker, right? Apple, ETHA, I don't know, Google, Amazon, Netflix, whatever, right? There's lots of different ETFs that you can do. There's like an endless array of options, options to sell an option on. The other thing is the strike price. What's the strike price when you sell a put? That's the price at which you're going to buy the shares if you have to buy the shares. But only, listen, guys, you only buy them if it drops below that price. But you want to think ahead of time. Okay, am I okay with buying stock at this price? So many people, like, they sell a put and on something, and then the stock goes down, and then they like don't actually want to buy it. Well, I mean, you got to think about that ahead of time. If the stock goes down to that level, are you okay buying that stock at that particular price? The lower the delta, the lower the likelihood that you have to buy those shares because it's further away from where the stock is trading, right? The other thing is you got the stock, you got the strike price, you got the expiration date. That's it. There's just a handful of things that you need, guys. The expiration date is when does the contract expire? When I buy car insurance, I take it out for 6 months. When the 6 months is over, the thing is over, right? Unless I pay my premium again. So I buy car insurance is good for 6 months. 6 months is up. If I don't renew my premium and I smash my car, is anybody going to pay to fix it? No, because the contract is over. This is the same thing. You are going to choose the expiration date. Now, I always talk about just doing 1 week out for 2 reasons. I feel like I say the same content over and over again. My son told me the other day, like, mommy, I was going to say Michelle. No, he calls me mommy. You're saying the same thing over and over again because it's not a lot of stuff that you have to learn. Listen, the fundamentals to learn options trading, it takes maybe like a few hours because it's new, right? And it's sometimes confusing. Like, what does that mean, delta? What does that mean, strike price? And what's the bid? What's the ask? And they're different, right? So they're new terms, new terminology that you're not familiar with. But once you get the hang of it, it is literally the same thing over and over again. So I talk about 1 week out, 2 reasons, right? Number one, I want to make income for myself every single week because I want to pay for stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. If you have a regular job, how often are you getting paid? I mean, maybe you get paid weekly, maybe you get paid bi-weekly or whatever, but why don't you get paid every, 2 months, 3 months? Because you got responsibilities that you have to take care of on a regular basis. So you want to create yourself income from week to week. And also secondarily, who knows what the market's going to do in 2 weeks? I have no idea. Listen, maybe it goes up, maybe it goes down. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. And nobody you talk to, and I want you guys to hear me loud and clear when I say this, nobody that you talk to or that you see on the internet or you see on the news or you hear on a podcast, they don't have a crystal ball either. Because if they did, they sure as heck would not be talking to you. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe like the Rockefellers or the whatever, that run the world, maybe they know what's going to happen because they make it happen, right? But they're not going to be telling you about it. So anybody that you hear, this is going to go up or that's going to go down, it's just speculation. So I don't speculate. I just want to make money every single week. What's a good rule of thumb? So sometimes people ask, I don't know, how much should I have in my how much should I have in my account? I was helping somebody recently who bought, I think he had I forget now, 400,000 or 500,000. And he literally at the same time bought all that money in NVIDIA shares, right? Now, why would you do that? Like NVIDIA is a great company, yeah, but don't buy $400,000 on NVIDIA because what if it goes down? What if it goes down $50 or $100? How's that going to feel? Right? Are you going to be sitting around? You can't even sell covered calls on that. I mean, we didn't talk about calls yet, but my point is this, just put like a small fraction, just start with something small. Life and trading is a marathon. It is not a sprint. There's not going to be some shortfall of trades next week or next month or next year. They're all the time, all over the place. So just start small, maybe 10% of your account in any one ticker. Keep cash so when the stock drops, and it will, you can sell another put on it, right? So we're going to talk more about that as we go. But that's a good rule of thumb to kind of trade by. Now, like I said, with puts, the worst case scenario, the absolute worst case scenario, I sell a put, an Apple put, and it's a $90 put, and the stock goes down to 80. I'm buying the stock at $90 because that's the strike price that I have, right? The worst case is I'm going to buy a stock that I already identified that I like, and I'm going to buy it on sale. That's the worst case. You are not going to lose money unless you freak out afterward and turn around and sell your shares and take a loss. It's only a paper loss. Like, listen, guys, if you sell a put and the price goes down and you buy those shares and the price keeps going down, it's a paper loss and it means nothing unless you sell your shares. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like, who remembers, let me know with a show of hands, who remembers like 2007, 2008, like the financial crisis, right? Like I think that's when Lehman Brothers went bankrupt, the staple in the financial community, right? So yeah, so people are raising their hands, of course. Like if you were around back then, you remember that, the financial crisis and the housing crisis, right? So let's say I own a house and I Airbnb my house. And let's say, there's another housing crisis, let's say, because it could happen again. It happened once, it can happen again. And if it does, let's say my house was always worth, $1 million, but now it's worth 400,000, during a housing crisis. It's not worth that much. But let's say I'm Airbnb my house and I'm renting it out and I still have people coming to my place. They pay me money every week. They stay at my place. I make income. It doesn't matter if the actual market value of my house is 400,000 because I'm not selling it. It's only important if you sell it. This is the same thing. Guys, don't sell your stock after it drops. You're going to buy more shares after it drops because if you like a stock that's trading at $100 and it's a good company and you like the stock at $100, then it would be ridiculous if you didn't like the stock at $80 or $70. Like, it's the same company, but it's cheaper. It goes on sale. And that's the way that you make money is like you're buying more as the price comes down and you're averaging your price down. We're going to talk more about that as we go. Let me see. I think I might have a question. I'm going to stop for a couple reasons. I'm going to drink a sip of water and I'm going to look at some of the questions as we go through. So somebody says, I would like to know a little bit more about the bid and ask scenarios. Should you go in the middle? How does that work? Thank you. So I'm absolutely going to talk about when I share my screen, my trading platform, I'm going to talk about what that means, the bid and the ask and the last price and how that works. Nina, just remind me in case I forget to talk about that. And keep the questions coming. I want this to be interactive. How many people do we have online? Can you see? All right, cool. So let's take a look. How can you lose money? I mean, I kind of said it before, but the only way that you lose money is if you sell your stock for less than what you paid, and you just don't do that. We're going to focus on one thing. There's really two ways that you can make money, lose money. You have paper gains, paper losses, and realized gains, realized losses, right? So we're going to focus on realized gains and not having realized losses. And that's the only way that you realize a loss is if you sell your stock for less than what you paid. If and when you sell a put and then your stock gets assigned, that means you have to buy the shares. You're going to turn that right around into selling a covered call. So again, as I talked about a moment ago, two strategies you need to know. Sell a put, sell a covered call. That's it. The covered call is the second one, right? And what does that mean? Let's go through that. Basically, it's like renting out your house on Airbnb. I have a house that it doesn't matter what the value is, and I'm renting it to customers. They pay me X dollars for the week. And then if they want, they can buy my house for a predetermined price, right? After their vacation is over. Covered call is the same thing. I have 100 shares of Apple, right? And I paid $100 for it. I sell a covered call against it. I choose what price I want to sell my shares for. If the price goes higher than that price before the contract expires, right? Before that expiration date. If it doesn't go higher, I don't sell my shares. I keep them. But either way, I keep the cash that somebody pays me. This is the same thing. So when you're selling, when you sell a put and then you buy the shares, you turn around and you sell a call against it. Okay, a bunch of thumbs up. I think my Wi-Fi disconnected for a moment. I'm not sure. That was kind of glitchy. So we're talking about selling a covered call, right? So we sell a put first. Our money's in cash when we sell a put. We don't have any stock, right? When we're selling a put. Our money's in cash. We're committing to buy stock if it drops below a certain price. If it doesn't drop, we don't buy the shares. Either way, we keep the cash. If it does drop and we have to buy the shares, we turn around and sell a covered call. Typically, what we do is, let's say if I buy a stock at $100, I turn around and sell a $100 covered call against it. Why? Because I don't really care about the stock. I don't fall in love with the stock. I like the stock, right? So I wouldn't mind holding it if I had to. But if I have a preference, I don't want to hold it. I want to keep my money in cash, because if I can drive income off of cash, that's always going to be better than driving income off of stock. So I want you guys to know that. The worst case scenario in a covered call, there is no worst case scenario. If you already have the stock, you already have the paper fluctuation, right? So there might be a point in time, and there probably will at some point be a point in time where that stock goes down and you see a paper loss on your statement. You're not going to freak out because you saw Michelle's course here, right? And Michelle said, don't jump off the bridge when my stock goes down, because that's okay. That's normal. Stocks go up and stocks go down. That's totally okay. It doesn't mean anything unless we sell it. Selling a covered call is literally the safest strategy that there is. There's no safer strategy. People that already have stock and then they want to sell it, instead of selling your shares, sell a call on it. And then you take in a little bit of income and you sell it if it stays that price or goes higher. There's no safer way to make income other than a covered call. Now, just like puts, calls are very, very similar. You're going to choose the stock, right? So if you already got assigned the stock, that's the stock that you have. And then you're going to choose the strike price. The strike price, three things: the stock, the strike price, the expiration date. The strike price is the price at which, if those shares are that price or higher, you're going to sell your shares. Now, usually what I do is I choose how much I own my shares for. That's what basis is. Basis, cost basis. It's the same thing. How much do you own the shares for, right? So if I bought the shares at $100, I'm going to sell $100 call against it. If I bought the shares at $50, I'm going to sell a $50 call. If I bought the shares at $10, I'm going to sell a $10 call, right? You could, if you wanted to, choose a price that's higher than that. You won't make as much money, right? Because the closer the strike price is to the price the stock is trading, you're going to make more money, right? Because it's more likely that it's going to end up above that price. But you could, if you wanted to. We're going to go through that when we walk through my platform in a moment. But I usually choose how much do I own the stock for. So I make the most amount of money and then I sell my shares. So that's kind of my intention. I don't want to keep shares. I want to keep my money in cash as much as possible. And I don't fall in love with any particular stock. Choosing the expiration date, right? So like I said a moment ago, the stock, the strike price, and the expiration date. Choosing the expiration date is pretty easy. Just go out 1 week. You could go out longer, but again, create yourself income every single week. And we don't know what the market's going to do, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks from now. There is a checklist. So I kind of made some notes here of some things that you always want to do when you are trading options, right? So first of all, when you're selling a put, you always want to calculate the rate of return. Why? Because you want to know if it's a good deal or not. And let me show you. I'm going to jump into my platform now, and I'm going to show you kind of a couple of examples. I'm going to show you, first of all, I'm going to show you SPY. I don't know if I have it listed here. Let me take a look. SPY is like the S&P 500, the S&P 500 index, right? So it's got a whole bunch of things in it. Let's see, SPY. So SPY is the S&P 500 index. So it's got like a whole bunch of stocks in there. It's an exchange traded fund that you can trade options on, right? So now the advantage of SPY, as an example, is it has daily expirations, which might be attractive for some people. Most options expire every Friday, right? So 1 week. So we're looking at weekly options. They expire at the close of Friday, 4 o'clock Eastern time every Friday. But SPY trades every day. It's very expensive, $671 per share. Oh my gosh. That means, let's pull up a calculator. If you're committing to buy, let's say 100 shares at $600, right? I don't need a calculator, but I'm going to walk through it to show you. That means you just need 60 grand for one contract, because if you had to buy it, you're committing $60,000. Now, the reason why you want to see if it's a good rate of return is maybe you don't want to make this trade, right? And this is a perfect example. So let's take a look. Now that we're looking at my platform here, this is Thinkorswim, by the way. You could be trading with whoever. Like a lot of the broker dealers, they all kind of work similarly. This is Schwab Thinkorswim. I've used Interactive Brokers before. They're pretty good. I've used Tastyworks before. They're pretty good. Tradeers, pretty good. There's lots of different. E-Trade is pretty good. They're all pretty similar, but they might look a little bit different. And even if you have Thinkorswim, maybe your screen looks a little bit different, because a lot of these things you can configure to the way you like to see it. So this is the way I look at my screen. And this will start, I always look at looking at a 1-year chart, right? So this is kind of like, okay, each tick mark, these green and red bars here represent sort of what it did on a 1-day basis. So this shows 1 year, right? And how it moved over the past year. So you'll see okay, up, down, up, down, up, down a lot, right? So probably a lot of people were freaking out. Oh my gosh, all my stuff is going down. Let me sell. Let me put a stop order in and let me sell my stuff. And then what happens? It just turns right around and goes back up. We can't predict the tops or the bottoms. I don't know. Maybe you can. I can't, because I don't have a crystal ball, like I told you before. But this kind of illustrates sort of where's the stock gone the past year. So then I'm going to click on the trade tab, and this is our options chain, what's called our options chain, right? So this kind of shows us what trades are available. So like I said a moment ago, SPY has trades that expire every day, right? So Saturday, the 17th is tomorrow, 18th, 19th, 20, 21. And then it's like 24, 25, 26, 27 is Thanksgiving, so the market's closed. But other than that, it's every day, right? So, but let's compare apples to apples and let's look at like a Friday expiration. So Friday would be 17, 18, 19, 21. So it would be the 21st of November. And strikes are going to be down the middle always, right? And then puts are on the right, right? And calls are on the left-hand side. So that's pretty standard. So that's kind of like the stuff that we're looking at. And we're going to look at bid and ask in a moment. I know somebody asked about that. So we have that on our page. And then we also have like the last trade, right? We have delta. We talked about delta. What's the statistical likelihood that the stock is going to go from where it is now all the way to the strike price before the contract expires, right? Is it a black and white number? No, it just gives us like an idea, an approximation, right? Helps us make a good choice. Implied volatility. How much swing does something have? Does it have a lot of swing? Now, I'm going to change this and only look at 14 strikes. So I don't have too many things on my page, right? So let's say, for example, we're looking at SPY, and like I said, it was trading at 671 per share, right? We're going to choose, okay, how much do we want to pay for the shares if the stock dropped, right? Actually, I'm going to look at some more because I want to look at some kind of conservative things, like far away from where it's trading. So let's say we're going to look at a 10 delta. It's got a 10% likelihood that it's going to drop from where it is now all the way to the strike price before it expires in 5 days, November 21, right? So the stock is here, 671 a share. And I'm going to, as an example, walk through an illustration with you. I'm going to look at a $647 put. So first of all, if I'm looking at a $647 put, I'm committing, if the stock drops, I'm going to buy 100 shares at $647. That is a ton of money, first of all. Let me pull up a calculator here. And you can do it in your head, but you can also just do it on a calculator. 647, right, times 100, you need for this trade $64,000, almost $65,000. How much are you making? It last traded at $111, right? So what does that mean? So that means I get $111 dropped in my account right then and there, right? I'm committing to buy 100 shares if it drops below 647 before the 21st of November. If it doesn't drop, I don't buy the shares. Either way, I keep the $111. Now, some of you might be thinking, and let me know in a show of hands, maybe you're thinking this, $111, man, that's not bad. That sounds kind of safe to me. I don't know. Let's take a look. Let's calculate the rate of return. $65,000 to commit on one trade. I don't know. Maybe if you have $1 million, maybe it's okay. But absent that, I don't think it's a smart move. But let's take a look at and see what it is mathematically. I'm going to make $111. I'm going to type in my premium that I'm making, 111, and then I'm going to divide it by how much money I need to make that trade. And what we talked about, $64,700, right? Now that's not assuming margin. We're going to talk about margin as we go, but right now we're just saying, okay, if I'm using all my money and I'm not using any money from the bank, how much money do I have to put up? I need to put up $64,700. Well, that gives us a rate of return of this, 0.001. So 0.1%. Now, if I did a trade like that every single week, right? Because this is for 1 week, how much money would I make? I don't know. Let's take a look. I would make 8%, almost 9%. Who thinks that's good? Let me pull up my Q&A. Oh, I think my Q&A. Now, who thinks that's good? Making 9%. Putting up $65,000. Now, I don't know if, Brian, I don't know if you raised your hand because you think that's a good trade or if you raised your hand because I'm not sure why you raised your hand, but anybody think that that's a good trade? Making 9% of their money. I'm putting up $65,000 and I'm making 9% of my money. Why am I doing that? I might as well just, I don't know, I might as well just give my money to a financial advisor. No, that's not a trade that I would make because that's not enough money. 9% and putting up a ton of money, 65 grand almost for one trade. I wouldn't do that. And the reason why it's such a low rate of return is a couple of things. Number one, SPY, it's like one of the most popular. Let's take a look. What is the AUM in SPY? AUM is assets under management. Like how much money is in SPY, right? Okay, so SPY has $692 billion in assets under management. Now, typically, they're making like a piece of that, right? So the people that are in charge of sort of managing that fund, buying and selling the stuff that's inside that fund, they're making like a fraction of that, maybe like a tenth of a percent, something like that. It is pretty small. There's not a big expense ratio, but it's a big dollar amount because of the size of that particular fund. It's huge, massive. So many people that don't know any better are putting their money in that fund on a regular basis. That's my takeaway from that. Another thing is the implied volatility is super low. So like see the implied volatility, it's 27%. So it doesn't have like, I mean, it's not super, super low, but a lot of other stocks will have, 30%, 40%, 50%, maybe even more. Some super aggressive stocks that move a lot and that have a lot of volatility have over 100%. So typically the higher the implied volatility, the higher your premium is, right? Now let's compare it. A moment ago, I was saying, okay, if you're new, let's just start with ETHA, Ethereum. Ethereum is never going to go bankrupt, right? Over time, it might chop around, right? It goes up, goes down. Sometimes Bitcoin and Ethereum goes down a lot, right? If and when it goes down a lot, you buy more. But over time, it will go up. Let's just kind of compare that. And this is an exercise that I want you guys to walk through, like to calculate the rate of return before you make a trade. Like, because you don't know, it's like, I don't know, like throwing a dart at the wall. Like you need a bullseye to know what you're aiming at. Like, is it a good trade or is it not a good trade? These are the tools that you do to do that. So let's take a look at Ethereum or ETHA rather. So it goes up a lot, goes down a lot, right? So again, people were probably freaking out. Oh my gosh, all my stuff is going out of business. Like I'm losing all my money. No, it goes back up. Stocks go like this. Listen, and good ones go up over time. In fact, look at it. I mean, visually, this is what happens. So this just kind of shows you where it's been. Now, ETHA is only 23 bucks a share, right? Let's take a look at what was the delta that we looked at for SPY. I think that was 10, if I remember correctly. Let me just go. Oh, I got so many things on this list. These are like, I don't know, things that people talk about. I think it was like a 647 strike price. Yes, it was a 10 delta. So I'm gonna kind of compare apples and apples, right? So let's go to ETHA and see if we can find a 10 delta. 10 delta. So it's 23.69 per share. Again, the strikes are down the middle, puts are on the right-hand side, calls are on the left-hand side. And if we go to a 10 delta, here's a 10 delta right here. It's a $20 strike price. What does that mean? You guys see the highlighted row, right? So that means this. So let's chop it down. And I'm going to look at the Q&A in a moment to make sure I didn't lose anybody, to see if we have questions and catch people up, that kind of thing. But let me just finish my thought here. So we're comparing like one ticker versus another ticker and why we calculate the rate of return. So ETHA is 23.69 per share. If I was to sell a $20 put, what I'm doing is I'm taking in money. I'm committing to buy 100 shares of ETHA, but only if it drops below $20, right? Before the contract expires on November 21. If it doesn't drop, I don't buy the shares. Either way, I keep the money, right? The last trade, we're going to talk about bid and ask in a moment, but the last trade that this particular contract traded at was 20 bucks. When we see 0.2, by the way, we're always going to multiply by 100 because each contract represents 100 shares. So if it says 0.2, that means $20 gets dropped in our bank account, right? Let's take a look and see what that rate of return was. So the SPY was 9%, a little bit less than 9%. $20 divided by, this is a $20 strike price, right? That means we need $2,000. Not using margin, right? So that's how much capital we have to make the trade because we're committing to buy 100 shares at $20 per share. We're going to do $20 in premium divided by $2,000, 1% for 1 week, right? So what do? We multiply by 52 to get our annualized rate of return. We're literally making 52% on our money. So even though SPY we're making $111, this ETHA mathematically is a better trade. It's like 5 times better because you're only making less than 9% in SPY and you're making 52% in ETHA. Now we're comparing two different things, right? So some of you might say, well, I think SPY is super safe because it's got all these big stocks and who knows about Bitcoin or Ethereum. Okay, fair point. But my point is you want to compare and you want to see the rate of return before you put a trade in. Now, as we're looking at ETHA, you'll notice implied volatility, right? So implied volatility, 120%. So that means it has a lot of swing. Now that means a couple of things. Now, sometimes people will say, let's go back to the chart. So sometimes people will say, oh my gosh, that's super risky because it's highly volatile. That's one way to look at it. Here's another way to look at it. If it has a lot of swing, it can go down a lot, but it can also go up a lot. So if it goes down, you can buy more shares, average your cost down, and it will go back up. And in fact, look at right here, it was like 13.63. 2 days later, it was $18, right? So it went up $5 in 2 days. So it's not that it's like super risky. I mean, people do say that, okay, it's got high volatility, it's super risky. I would encourage you to look at it a little bit differently. It means that it can go down a lot, but it also can go up a lot, and you're paid more in premium. Now, somebody had asked about the bid ask. Let me talk about that. Let's go through that in this example. So here's this $20 put, right? The bid is 13 and the ask is 20. Here's what that means, guys. Here's what that means. If I put an order in at the bid, $13, there's automatically someone out there that's waiting to purchase those shares or that contract rather at that price, right? So that means it will be filled, what we say filled automatically. So if I put this trade in, right? Let's say I click on the bid, right? It pulls up a trade window. I'm selling one ETHA, November 21, $20 put. The price is 13. I mean, the market's closed now because it's Sunday, right? But let's say the market was open right now. And by the way, options do not trade outside of regular hours. Options only trade Monday through Friday, not including holidays from 9:30 to 4. You can trade stocks at nighttime, but you can't trade options at night. But let's assume that the market's open now and I clicked send for this particular contract. If I was to place the order at $13, it would fill right away, meaning I will sell that contract. I will get at least $13. I might get more, but I won't get any less than $13. And there's already a buyer that's going to take the other side of that trade. Yeah. Now the difference between bid and ask, there's what we call spread in between the two, right? So 13 bid. And by the way, you don't have to remember bid ask. If you sell at the lower number, it will fill automatically. If you buy at the higher number, we're going to talk about that later on in the session when we talk about like closing a trade, perhaps. If you sell at the lower number, it will fill right away. If you buy at the higher number, it will fill right away. So there's already like another person waiting to take the other side of that contract. You don't have to find them. Like people call market makers, like match buyers and sellers. Now, there's what you call a spread in between. So you can go in the middle, right? So Thinkorswim will show you 16 as an example is like the mid price. You can calculate it yourself if you needed to. So 13 plus 20 divided by 2, 1650. So this isn't showing decimal points, but it's showing, it's rounding down. So 16 would be the mid price. Now you can, let's say if I put the order in at $16, it's not necessarily going to fill. It might fill, maybe it'll sit out there for a little bit of time, that kind of thing. Usually best practice would be to go like right under the mid price. So let's say like 15 or something like that. So if the mid price is 16 and you go at a smidge underneath, usually that will fill, but it doesn't necessarily fill. But if you put it in at the bid, it will fill automatically. Does that make sense for everybody? Let me pull up some questions here. Which delta do you typically choose? And do you choose the same delta when selling calls and puts? When I sell a call, I'm not looking at delta. I'm just going to sell a call over either at or over what I own the shares for. So it doesn't matter what the delta is. I don't look at that. When I sell a put, it really depends. Like you really have to ask yourself, at what price am I comfortable purchasing these shares for, right? When you're new, you want to choose something really far away. Like this, the rule of thumb is like if you choose a 5 delta, 5%, 5% likelihood that the stock is going to go down, mathematically, if you did that over and over and over again, you're only going to buy stock 2% of the time. I'm going to say that again. So if you choose a 5 delta, right, there's a 5% likelihood that the price is going to go drop below the strike price by the time the contract expires. If you did that over and over and over again, you're only going to have to buy stock 2% of the time. These are statistics. It's like mathematics. So when you're new, like if you're new and let's say you're trading ETHA, I would say, you know what, do a 5 delta. You don't make that much money, but let's calculate the rate of return. I don't know. It's not the dollar. It's how much, what's your percentage rate of return? And that's driven by how much you take in versus how much you put up, how much money am I making? So an 18 strike price is a 5 delta and it last traded at $8, right? 0.08 means $8 gets dropped into our bank account. Now that's not a lot of money, but let's see if it's a high rate of return. I don't know. Let's calculate it. 8 divided by 1,800 bucks. That is almost 0.5%. 0.004444, right? If we were to annualize that out, because this is a 1-week contract, we're going to multiply by 52. That gives us an annualized rate of return of 23%. Well, how would you feel if you're making 23% on your money on a regular basis, right? 23% on your money on an annualized basis is not bad. Some of you guys might have your money in what's called money market, right? Money market making 3% a year. Or maybe it's with a financial advisor and you're getting 8%, maybe 10%. This is not a bad thing. Now, again, it's not for me to tell you what delta do you use. I don't know. How much are you okay buying the shares if you had to pay for the shares? And that's what you have to use. Now, I haven't talked about it yet, but I'm going to talk about margin for a moment. A lot of times people are afraid of margin. Now, margin comes with its own set of risk because margin is like actually the only, I've been trading so long and I have blown up my fair share of accounts before by taking on too much leverage. The only time I ever lost money in the market was because I was, borrowing too much money from the bank. So you have to be careful when you use leverage, because if your stock goes down, and if it goes down a lot, and particularly if it goes down a lot quickly, you might not have enough money in your account to sustain, like to keep your positions open. So it comes with its own set of risk. We're not going to talk too much about margin right now, but I just want to illustrate, let's say, if I was to trade this and not put up $1,800, right? So let's say if I made this trade, if I needed all the cash, I would need to put up 1,800 bucks. But let's see how much money I would need if I use margin, right? So in order to check that, you're going to right click or control or command click if you're on a Mac, and you're going to do what's called analyze the trade. And when you analyze the trade, it tells you, let me just close some of these windows. I had some windows open. It tells you what the margin requirement is for this particular contract. So here's the margin requirement on this short put that I'm showing you. If I was to sell an $18 put, you see naked -1 is selling a put. ETHA is the ticker. November 21 is the expiration date, $18 strike price. The margin requirement on this particular trade is a little bit less than $200. So what does that mean, guys? I want to illustrate this to you. That means if we go back to here, we're looking at an $18 put. That means if I needed all the cash, right, to put the trade in, I would need 1,800, right? Because I'm not using any of the bank money. I'm using all my money. 100 shares times $18 per share is 1,800 bucks. But if I want to use margin, I don't need 1,800. I only need $200. So first of all, this shows you a couple things. Number one, now I'm not saying open an account with 200 bucks and make this trade. So let's get that straight right off the bat. Because if you have 200 bucks in an account and then the stock goes down, you're not gonna have enough money in the account. You're gonna need more money. Otherwise, you have to liquidate your position and take a loss. So I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is this: if you're using a a margin account, let's say you open an account with $2,000 and it's a margin account, you don't necessarily have to like save 1,800 to make this trade. You can make it with $200. And if I was to calculate my annualized rate of return in that case, I'm making $8. This last trade at $8, right? 8 divided by $200. I just rounded it off. I think it was like $198. Bro, I'm making 4% on my money. If I do that every week using margin, I'm literally making 200% on my money. So I personally, I use margin. I do it in a very safe way now, for a very long time now. So I have software that I developed where I can import all my positions and I can run like hypothetical scenarios. Okay, if ETHA drops down to $10, where am I going to incur what's called a margin call, where I might not have enough money in the account to sustain those positions. So you want to, it's a lot more work, right? When you use margin, because you want to make sure that you're capitalized enough. You can see how you can, trade perhaps things that you might not have enough money to trade otherwise, or make a little bit more money, input trades that you wouldn't necessarily be able to make if you had to put up all the capital, right? So that was good. Let's go back through and go through some other questions. So somebody says, Rory said he did a move where he did a buy right on SMR and he's down about $1,000. I'm thinking of just buying the shares to dollar cost average. It has not bottomed out yet. I don't know what SMR is, but let's take a look. And I encourage you guys, listen, you guys are here spending your time. I'm here spending my time. I want you to get the most out of it. I don't mind answering these questions. So let's go through Rory's example. It's a real example, and let's take a look. I'm not familiar with this company, SMR, but let's take a look. SMR. Well, first I would do this, SMR stock. I would just kind of get an idea of what it is. New Scale Power Corp, publicly traded American company that designs and markets small modular reactors. Headquartered in Oregon. Let's see. Revenue is $11 million. It looks like a small company. I mean, not super big. 330 employees. Let's take a look at the chart first, right? So we'll see. First, when you hover over these right here, right off the bat, you can take a look and see that the company has negative earnings. So negative earnings means that they're not a profitable company. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't trade it, but it is something that you want to be cognizant of. They're not making money. So you want to kind of think of that. It's been as low as $11. It's been as high as $57. It's come down from this high back in, when was this? Let's see. So this was October 16th. That was, so this was about a month ago or so. So in the past month, it's come down from $57 all the way down to $22. Now, I don't know, you guys probably saw I had a YouTube video that I did, I think it was yesterday. And I put the spreadsheets in a Google Drive, and I put the links on on the video that showed, okay, if I own 100 shares at, let's say, $50, and then I wanted to buy another 100 shares at, X dollars, how would that average me down? Those spreadsheets are really helpful. If anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, just look at my YouTube from yesterday and you'll see that video and you'll be able to pull those spreadsheets up. And it does a couple of things. Number one, it shows you two things. Number one, it shows you, okay, if I paid $50 for a stock and the stock dropped to $22, like where it is now, $22, what percent does it have to go back up for me to break even? It's important for you guys to understand that as you're trading. Here's a good rule, like here's how numbers work. If a stock drops 50%, some people think you have to go back up 50% to go back to where you started. No, you have to go back up 100%. So that shows like the power of like compounding and how mathematics and how numbers work. So it's come down a lot. So I think your question is, what should I do, right? Like, should I buy more shares? I mean, if it's a good, strong company, if you traded it should have been a good, strong company for you to have traded it. And if you still believe that, if it comes down in price, you do want to, let's say, sell another put and average your cost down. Let's see what the prices are going for. Let's see. So I just want to see, well, they have weekly options. And by the way, when you pull up your options chain, some stocks that aren't that popularly traded, they don't trade every week. Maybe they trade like every month or something like that. So I would encourage you to stick with tickers that have weekly options. So this one does have weekly options. And what you can do is it's got super high volatility, 130%. The stock right now is at $22 per share. You can, let's say, sell a $20 put, right? Bid 42, ask 49, last traded at 42. The advantage of selling more puts on stock you already have is if, number one, you're going to collect income, right, by selling more puts. And then if and when the stock drops more, you would buy more shares and average your cost down. So it's not for me to say, hey, should you do it or should you not? Because I never heard of this company before. But if you like this company and you believe in this company, then you should do it. Yes. And let's take a look and see what our rate of return is. I'm guessing our rate of return is going to be super high because our implied volatility is really high. You can also structure, and by the way, before I say that, because it's coming down a lot, when things come down a lot in price, puts are worth more, right? Everybody else is freaking out. Puts are more expensive, right? So you might, depending on how much money you have, you might want to, let's say, sell something that's close to the money, right? Let's say if you bought 100 shares at $50, maybe you're okay selling a $22 put, right? It's kind of close to where it's trading at now. It's trading at 22.45. And let's see what that rate of return is. It's going to be high. It last traded at 116. So you're going to make $116 and you're going to put up 2,200, right? Assuming not using margin, right? You're making 5% for the week, right? So you're flipping your money 2 times, almost 3 times, 274% rate of return. You might want to sell a $20 or a $22 put rather, and you might also want to sell a $20 put. Maybe you want to structure them like that. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, especially since something goes down a lot, you might want to look at a few weeks out, maybe a $20 put, December 12th, a few weeks out. That last traded at 139, right? Where's my calculator? $139 divided by $2,000 for a $20 put, 7%, December 12th. I don't know how many weeks that is. Where are we now? We're at November 16th. So 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So multiply by 12, right? So it's like, let's say for a 1-month contract, you're making 83% on your money. So worry if you like that stock, you still believe in that stock. We don't know if it's bottomed out. So your question was, has it bottomed out yet? Who the heck knows? We don't know what a bottom or a top is until after it happened, because nobody's got that crystal ball. But we're not trying to pick bottoms and tops. What we're trying to do is we're trying to take in income, and then we want to average our cost down. Because here's the thing, like let's say I don't think you said in the comments here. Oh, I have a lot of questions now. Let's say you bought 100 shares at $50, right? If you were to buy another 100 shares at $22, you can use the spreadsheet from my video yesterday, or you can just use a calculator. $50 plus $22 divided by 2. Now you'd own 200 shares at $36. You see, the reason for averaging your cost down is this. If you want to just stick with 100 shares at $50, oh my gosh, like what does it have to take, now that it's at $22 to get back to 50? You probably need like 300% return, something like that, a big return. But if you're buying more shares and you're averaging your cost down, now you only need it to go back up to $36, or maybe even if it goes even lower, you're going to average your cost down even lower. And when you have a ticker like this with high volatility, right, like 100% volatility, you're going to get those pops up and dips down. But it's okay because when you average your cost down, you just need not as much of a pop up to get rid of those shares. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me take a sip of water and go through some more questions. What do you guys think of this content so far? You think this is helpful? Is this helpful for you guys? Can you guys see yourself doing this on a regular basis? This is not that hard. Listen, once you put I appreciate all the hearts and all the loves and all the thumbs up and all the celebration. I appreciate that. Once you learn the fundamentals, which takes It takes some time. I'm going to put this video on YouTube. I'm going to edit it first to take out some of the, the laps where I don't talk or I drink water. My dog was having the zoomies in the background. But watch this video again and again. Listen, repetition is the mother of skill. This is new concept for many of you, right? If you were a pro, you probably wouldn't be watching this video. So a lot of you are either new or you're already trading, but you're still learning and you're still like, evolving. Watch it over and over again, and it will become habit. And once you understand the fundamentals of trading, two strategies, that's it. Puts and calls. That's it. Once you understand the fundamentals, it's literally like 20 minutes a day. You don't have to spend a lot of your time trading. And a lot of it's going to be finesse. So we're going to talk a little bit more as we go through. We're about halfway already. And hopefully I get through most of this information. But a lot of the like finesse comes with, okay, I sold this put before, should I close that contract? How do I make better decisions? But the fundamentals will take a few hours and then 20 minutes a day to manage. Let me go through some more questions. Let's see. And by the way, Rory, he said he did a bonehead move. I would be easy on yourself. And when he was explaining that he did a buy right, I would be easy on yourself. There's no right or wrong. There's no like, oh my gosh, I should not have done that. Because here's the thing. If I like this stock and I'm looking at this stock, let's say I'm looking at it here, right? When it's kind of like, okay, it's like trending upward, right? Like you see how it's trending upward right here. So you can envision like right here where it's trending up. I often do a buy right. What does Rory mean by that? I'm going to buy 100 shares and I'm going to sell a call right afterward. Now, if you do that, like Rory's saying, if I'm going to do a buy right, I'm going to sell a call right at what I paid for it. So let's say it's here, right? $40. If I was to buy 100 shares at the market, it's $40 a share. I'm going to sell a $40 call. Now, the mistake sometimes people make is this, actually a couple different mistakes. They buy 100 shares at $40 and then they sell a $45 call. Or let's say they sell a $40 call and the stock keeps shooting up. They roll their contract. They buy their contract back, sell another one. I'm going to talk more about rolling afterward. So you don't want to do that. If I was to do this, if I bought 100 shares at $40, I would sell a $40 call. I would take in as much premium as possible. And if the stock stayed over $40, I would let that go. And maybe I might trade it again next week. So it's not necessarily a bad move. We don't know that a stock is going to come down, or we don't know that it's going to go up. It kind of goes like this. So be easy on yourself was my point. Let's see. So somebody asked, does the brokerage escrow your money for the put, or do you have to keep the money in the account until it expires? So the way it works is this. When you're selling a put, you can sell a put one of two ways. You can sell what's called a cash secured put, which means that you have all the cash to buy 100 shares if the stock dropped. And in that case, you have to keep that money in your account, right? If you sell a put using margin, then you only need a fraction of that. And margin depends on the stock and the brokerage. So like before I walked through ETHA, I needed $200, margin. Maybe a different stock, I would need all of it or more of it. So it really depends on, the brokerage company kind of determines, okay, how risky is that stock? How volatile is that stock? How far away is it from where it's trading right now? How likely are you to have to buy that stock? So it's taking all those things into account. But yes, you do need the money until that contract expires, Brian. Is your focus always to remain liquid in cash rather than holding anything? Yes. So that's a good question. So here's the thing, guys. If I can just keep my money in cash and sell a put and drive income and not have stock, that's better than having stock and having paper fluctuation. Why? Because what if I had to access that money? So like, what if I have an account? I'm all about flexibility. I believe in flexibility. What if I have an account that has, I don't know, whatever the number is, $20,000 in it, right? And I have a bunch of stock in there, and then the stock goes down, and then an emergency happens, and I need to access that money. I mean, if I have a paper loss, I'm going to get back less than what I put in, and I'm going to actually recognize that loss if I had to sell those shares. So all things being equal, selling puts is better than having stock and selling a covered call against it. Now, that said, when stocks are going up, right, puts are not worth that much. So you want to calculate, okay, what's my rate of return? How does that work? And sometimes you do want to, let's say, like Rory was saying, okay, SMR, it's going up, it's going up. The trend is your friend. Maybe you want to buy 100 shares and sell a call against it. I do that as well. Typically, the way I trade is this. I just have a handful of things I trade over and over again. I don't care what the prices are. And I just do them over and over and over, week to week. And I stick with the same handful of tickers. Too many people trade too many things. So one of the biggest mistakes people make is they trade too many tickers. So first of all, don't do too many. And also don't do too many contracts. Start with one, right? So when I look at the options chain, some of the strike prices have a zero natural. Let's see. Can I go in and put my own limits? How will I know if it fills? Should I just go further out on the calendar? I don't know what you mean by this, Brian. I'm not sure. Clarify in another chat or Q&A. I'm not sure what that question means. I think what you mean is this. If let's keep looking at this SMR and we're going to look at November 21. If you see like, okay, $10, right? A $10 put, 0 bid, 22 ask, nobody's standing in line to buy that contract. Why? Because it's too far away from where it's trading. So I wouldn't look at anything that has like a 0. So if it's 0 bid, nobody's buying, nobody's standing in line for that. It's because it's very unlikely to happen. Like, look at the delta. The delta is like 1, 2, 3, and maybe also this is not that popular of a stock. I don't know. Let's just look at Tesla as an example. I know it's a $400 stock, but let's look at if the delta is 0, I mean, $5 bid, $9 ask. So there's always going to be somebody that wants to take the other side of, let's say, a Tesla trade because it's just more popular. But you wouldn't make that much money. I'm not saying do it, make $5 to commit, or actually let's look at this. Actually, this is an interesting example. Okay. Tesla. Yeah, this is interesting. $400 a share right now, $404. We're looking at a November 21 contract, right? I can sell a $220 put and make $5. Now I know it's not a lot of money, but I'm illustrating what this means. So the delta is 0. It's not actually 0, 0. I mean, there's always a little bit of a likelihood, but here's what that means. I get paid $5, right? Somebody is already standing in line to buy this for $5. They're like a gambler. It's like a person that just goes to the casino all the time. They wanna spend $5 and maybe 10x their money or 100x their money. If Tesla drops from $400 down to $220 before Friday, it's only 5 days, and it's got to go down half, 50%, just about 40%, something like that. I'm going to buy 100 shares at $220 and I'm going to get paid $5 to do it. It's interesting, right? Yeah. So I think that answers your question, Brian, but put another Q&A in here if it doesn't. And by the way, guys, I'm not looking at the Q&A as I'm speaking because otherwise I would be distracted. So sometimes I look at the Q&A and it says like, no, yes. I have no idea what you're referring to. So just maybe put something else in the no good. I'm not sure what that means. Because that was like probably 10 minutes ago or something. Let's see some other questions. Worst case scenario for the covered call side is that you may end up holding the stock longer than you thought. Yeah. So listen, if you already have the stock, everybody that has stock should be selling a covered call on it because nobody should ever be loving stock. Like paper gains don't make anything. The whole point of trading is to create income for yourself on a weekly basis. So if you have stock, you should sell a covered call against it. Now, sometimes, like me, for example, I have a whole bunch of MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy, let's look at that one. It's come down a lot lately. Let's look at a chart on that. Okay, here's MicroStrategy. Down, this is a 1-year chart. Down, and it goes up. Then it's been coming down since July. Just down, down, down. Pops up a little bit. This is why you want to average your price down, because when it pops up a little bit, you can shave off some of those shares and you can still make income along the way. But like, for example, I own some MicroStrategy, I think like, let's say $350, right? So if right now MicroStrategy is at $200, right? So if I'm looking at a $350 strike price for Monday or Friday rather, November 21, it's trading for $8. So I could sell it for $8, or I could just not even bother selling it and just wait until I get like a little bit of a pop up, and then I can get a little bit more money. So sometimes my point is this: if you have stock, you should be selling a covered call against it to create income. Sometimes, depending on what you paid for your stock, it might not be worth it, and which case you might have to wait a little bit, or you sell another put and average your cost down. Yeah. When averaging the price down, is there a difference between selling a put or buying more shares? Is one better than the other? Andrea asked this question. That's a really good question, Andrea. So when I'm looking to average my price down, like let's go back to what was Rory's ticker? I forget. S something, I think it was, right? SMR, I think it was. Okay, so this was Rory's ticker. SMR, it's $22 a share right now. If I'm Rory and I have a bunch of SMR and I wanted to average my price down, I would actually sell a put instead of buying shares. And the reason for that is because you're getting paid, right? You're getting paid and you keep that no matter what happens. And then you're only buying it if it goes down. So if it was like, okay, let me buy 100 shares or let me sell an at the money put, I would sell an at the money put because then you get paid extra money. That's a good point. And by the way, let me say this. I think I'm going over on time. But I want to explain this. Like, let's say I sell a $20 put, for example, and I sold this put and I got paid $42. If SMR ends at, let's say, $19 when the contract closes, and I'm buying 100 shares at 20, it's going to show up in my brokerage account with a cost basis of $20 per share. However, that's going to be adjusted by the premium that I took in on that put. So on Tuesday, depending on the brokerage firm, but like Schwab, for example, will show it on Tuesday. It's going to adjust. Let's see. If I have a $20 put, that's going to be my original basis. And then if I got paid $42.42 on Tuesday, my actual basis on the shares is going to be $19.58. So that's important for you guys to note. Let's see what other questions. Let me go through a couple more slides, and then I want to go through some questions after. So we kind of talked about always calculating your rate of return, right? So that's important. Don't do it and not calculate the rate of return. Another thing that you want to make sure that you do, you want to make sure you know when earnings is. So earnings, each publicly traded company declares their earnings on a quarterly basis, but it's different for everybody, right? So like SMR might be declaring their earnings on, I don't know, December 2nd. Apple might be, I don't know, January 5th. It's every quarter, but they're going to be different dates. The reason why before you put a trade in, you want to know when the earnings is because right before earnings, you're going to have some extra volatility. When you're new, you might not want to take that extra volatility. So there's lots of time to trade. Trading is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Don't be in such a big rush. It's totally okay. You might want to just skip that until you kind of get your feet wet a little bit, right? You want to think part of your checklist, you want to think about what happens if your stock goes down 50%. So before you make a trade, you want to know how you're going to feel if that happens, and do you have enough money, right? So let's go back to this SMR example. So you want to know, okay, like it's $22.45 per share, and I got like, let's say 300 shares. How am I going to feel and let's say I paid $50 per share. How am I going to feel if my 300 shares got cut in half? Right? The price got cut in half. And do I have enough money to sell another put when it goes down? You want to think about that ahead of time. You also want to keep track of your realized gains from week to week. This is something that nobody ever does. I do it like clockwork. Why? Because that's like the most important thing. That's how much cash you put in your pocket. Your paper gain doesn't matter. How much cash did you put in your pocket? I mean, basically, it's pretty easy to do that. You just want to create a spreadsheet. And next week, I started this live stream this past week, and I did it on a paper account. I think I mentioned this on this session already. I'm gonna forget about a paper account. Paper accounts are stupid. They don't show all the data, and it's just not a good learning experience, and it's not a good experience in general. So I'm gonna start an account with 5,000, a separate account. So I'm gonna take $5,000, start a new account, and I'm gonna hide the account number so nobody can see that, and then I'm gonna show you from the very beginning how those trades work. I encourage you to catch that live. I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing it Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's a big commitment. These sessions are a big commitment also. Listen, I don't get paid for this at all. I mean, I am really psyched about like improving my YouTube channel. I think I have almost 4,000 subscribers right now. I thank all of you guys and thank you for the love that you're sending me. And I'm getting paid on YouTube in ads, but nothing compared to what I make on trading. Like it's very, very small. Like I'm literally doing this to help you guys because I want you guys to say, oh my gosh, I saw this chick on YouTube and I didn't know what options were and I started trading and I'm making like, $1,000 a month right now, or I'm making whatever that is. That makes me feel amazing. So that's why I'm doing this. But I guess my point is, thank you for the love. I appreciate that. My point was it's a big commitment. So I think with the new live stream, I don't know exactly yet, but I think I'm going to do Monday, Friday. Those are my favorite days. And Mondays, you have new trades coming out. On Fridays, you have stuff expiring. But catch that because I'm going to show you a lot of these spreadsheets that I use, and I'm just going to give them to everybody. But you want to keep track of realized gains. I want to talk a little bit, and I am going to get to your questions as well. But I want to talk a little bit about when you want to close a trade, because I think it's important. When you sell a put, once you make like 90% of all the money that you can make, you want to buy your contract back. Let me go through an example. Let's say, let's just keep using SMR because I'm already looking at it. And I sell a $20 put that expires on November 21. And let's say I sell that put for $42, right? Now, after I sell that, $42 gets dropped into your account right away, right? And after you sell that, that contract has a market value ongoing, right? So it's going to have a value tomorrow as the day trades, the next day, etc., up until November 21, right? Once you make most of that $42, like let's say the stock is trading kind of like high, it stays like where it is now, $22, or maybe it goes higher, $23, that value is going to come down, right? So let's say the value of the contract becomes like $5, right? I sold it for 42. If I can buy it back for $5, oftentimes that makes a lot of sense. Why? Because I'm just going to like lose a couple dollars and I'm going to take the risk off the table. It is, I say this a lot and I'm going to say it again now. It's really easy to make money trading options. It's harder not to lose it. So you want to capitalize on those times and you want to like remove as much risk as possible. So if $42 is like the most that you can make and you can buy the contract back for like $2 and get rid of the risk, even though it might be likely that it's going to expire worthless, spend the $2 and buy it back and capture most of your premium. So that's something that people like don't do enough of. So I have that on here. Yeah. I want to take a minute and talk about rolling contracts. I have a video on YouTube that talks about rolling, right? And rolling contracts is the most misunderstood thing that there is. First of all, I want to say this. If you're watching like I don't know, Tasty or a lot of these like big alpha, option alpha, whatever, a lot of these big like podcast things, they all talk about rolling. So many retail traders talk about rolling their contract. And it is the dumbest fucking thing that you can do. Okay? I'm just going to say it like that because sometimes you got to say the F word to like enunciate your thought and your position about what you're talking about. I like the laughing emojis. And let me explain to you what that means. Now, technically, rolling a contract means you're buying your contract back and you're selling a new one. So I do that a lot, okay? So I just talked about like, okay, I'm going to buy my put back, right? Once I capture most of my premium in that put, I'm going to buy it back, take the risk off the table, and I might sell another put next week. I'm not talking that technically that's rolling, but when most people talk about rolling their contracts, they mean one of two things. I want to take a minute because I want to listen. If you're listening to me, you got to have a little bit of value in what I say. I'm not saying that I'm a guru. I'm not saying I'm always right, but I am saying this without question. I've been around the block and I'm trying to help you. And right off the bat, first of all, if you do what everybody else does, you're going to get what everybody else does, what everybody else gets. Here's what I mean by that. I'm a go against the grain kind of person. And the reason for that is because when you're doing stuff that everybody does, you get what everybody gets. I live an amazing fucking lifestyle. I'm in New York right now. I just booked a flight. I'm going to fly to, and I'm not bragging. I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I'm going to fly to LA Thursday with my daughter. I do whatever I want, whenever I want. I've lived lots of different places, New York. I'm going to move back to LA because the weather is terrible here. I like New York. It's an amazing city, but no, I never get sick elsewhere. But I'm going to move back to LA. I lived in Bali for a while, a couple of years. I lived in the Virgin Islands a long time. I lived in Boston a little bit. I've traveled lots of different places, tons of different countries. I've taken my kids. I've been grateful. I feel grateful to have taken my kids to places that adults never even been to. And I do what I want when I want. And that's due to options trading, right? That is it without question. So I want you guys to know what I'm telling you. I'm trying to help you. So when I talk about rolling contracts, most people refer to rolling contracts two ways. I'm going to explain this. And I want you guys, I'm going to look at the other Q&A in this session here, but I want you guys to put a question if I'm at all not clear about this, because I want to be super clear. If you're watching me, I want you to pay attention to this. Two things. Let's say in this case, let's go back to SMR here. I'm trading, I sell an SMR put, a $20 put, and SMR goes to $10, right? I'm not going to buy that contract back. I'm just going to buy those shares at 20 bucks, probably like 99% certain. And then I'm going to probably, if I like the company, obviously, again, I don't know anything about SMR, but if I'm trading it, that means I should like the company. And if I like it at 20 bucks, I also like it at $10. And I'm going to sell another put at $10, or I'm going to sell maybe two puts or something like that. And I'm going to average my price down. What I'm never going to do, ever, 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 is this. Let's say I sell a $20 SMR put and SMR goes to $10. I'm not going to buy that contract back, lose money, right? Because if the price goes down, that means I'm going to buy that contract back at a higher amount than what I originally received in premium. That's just the way the mathematics work. I'm not going to take a realized loss and sell another SMR put for next week, like an $8 or a $9 or a $5. That's what most people refer to as rolling. It's underwater, right? I sell let's look at something else, because I don't know, nobody ever heard of I never heard of SMR. Let's look at like Google. I don't know, everybody's heard of Google. It's $276 per share. It's expensive, but it's not the point. The point is it's $276 per share, right? I sell, let's say, a 250 put on Google, and then Google goes to 200. I'm not going to buy my put back, lose a bunch of money, which is a realized loss, by the way, a realized loss, make sure you understand that, and then sell another Google put next week. Why would I do that? Don't do that. That's rolling a contract. That's the dumbest thing anybody ever does. Don't do that. Take assignment on the shares, because you should have already thought about that ahead of time. Can you afford it? Is it a stock that you want to trade? Is it a price that you're okay buying the shares? You already should have thought of that, right? Take assignment on the shares, and then hopefully you got some extra cash, sell another put if it comes down. But don't close that, take a realized loss, and kick the can down the road and sell another contract on that same ticker like 1 week out with a lower strike price. That's one way of rolling. Don't do that. Worse than that, as if that's not bad enough, the absolute stupidest thing, and I'm going to say stupid because that's what I believe, and you can be offended if you want, or you can take it as good advice. The dumbest thing that you can ever do is, let's say I own Google 100 shares, and I bought shares at 276, and then I sold a 277.50 call against it, and Google shoots up to $400 per share. Some people out there, the dumb ones, and I'm just going to say it like that, think, oh my God, like that stock shot up to the moon and I could have made blah, blah, blah. I should have made blah, blah, blah. I wish I didn't sell a call. What they do is they buy their call back, right? And now it's a lot more expensive than what they originally got paid in premium because the price went up really high. They buy their call back, then they sell another call next week at a higher price. That is listen, if you do that, I don't even want to talk to you. Like don't stay on my channel and don't learn from me, because that's the dumbest thing that you can do. So many people say that they do that, and that is the dumbest thing. And I want to explain why. And I encourage you to put, if this is at all unclear in any way, put a message or a thing in the Q&A, and we can dialogue about that. But here's why it's not smart. When you sell a covered call, you are saying, I'm going to take in I own these shares, and I'm going to take in guaranteed income that I'm going to put in my pocket, and I'm going to sell my shares if it goes higher than what I paid for them. You have to be okay with that. Selling puts and selling calls, covered calls, is not gambling. It's not looking to hit a home run. It's not doing that. It's looking for systematic, steady stream of income every single week. It can become boring. Once you start doing this, it's very repetitive, and it can be borderline boring. But the reason for it is because you're creating income for yourself every week to live the lifestyle that you want to live, to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. You don't want to be sorry about not making enough money and sorry that your stock went up. You know what I do? I'm okay. I sell my shares. Listen, like in my scenario with Google, I own 100 shares here. I sell a covered call. The stock shoots to the roof. I get assigned on my shares, and I keep the premium. And sometimes, okay, it's higher, and I trade that ticker again over and over and over again. I'm not trying to time the tops. I'm not trying to time the bottoms. I'm never, ever buying that contract back. Now, some people will say, and if you want the video, here's the video. I'll show it to you. Let's see. Content. Let me find it here. So this is, if you want to know more, just watch this video, this one right here. Why I never roll options. Watch that video to understand more, and then read through the comments on that video as well. But some people, what they will do is, and they do this without question, they buy their contract back, they sell another one for next week, and they're looking at the net gain. Okay, oh, I made a net gain on that. Maybe you made a net gain, but you took a realized loss buying your contract back. If the stock shoots to the moon and you buy your contract back, you're going to lose a lot of money, because you're going to buy it back for a lot more than what you originally got. That is a realized loss. And the reason you're trading options, or the reason you should be trading options, is you want to create realized gains from week to week, and you don't want to create realized losses. It's the dumbest thing anybody can do. Tons of people do it all the time, and they keep arguing why they do it. Now I'm going to look in the Q&A. Oh my gosh, I feel like I think I need a glass of wine after that one. Let me know in the Q&A if that makes sense, if that doesn't make sense, if that is at all vague. Totally my favorite options expert. I'm learning a lot. Big love to you. When you buy back, anybody have any and no worries about the misspellings, totally fine. Oh, I got a lot of questions here. Is anybody at all unclear about what I talked about in this rolling? Just, I want to give you a moment to put in the Q&A right now if anybody is at all unclear about that. So here's what I'm saying. You can totally close your contracts. Like in the case where, okay, I sell a put and the price goes up, and I want to buy back my contract and capture most of my money and then sell another put, totally fine, right? Also, let's say I sell a covered call and I want to buy back my contract. I want to capture most of the money, or whatever the scenario happens. But what you don't ever want to do is take a big loss, buy back a contract, take a big loss, and then sell another one for higher or lower, depending on if it's a put or call. The crystal clear, right? Is anybody not clear about that? I want you to tell me now. Don't be watching my channel and then tell me on a video like, I sold a call on Google, $250 call, and the stock went up to 400. So I bought my call back. I lost a couple $100, and then I sold a new one for next week. Because listen, we're not gambling. We are not gamblers. We're just creating income so we can live an amazing lifestyle. That's what we're here for. And if you're here for a different reason, you're in the wrong spot. Okay. So let's just leave it at that. Cool. So let's go back to, and if you didn't know that before, it's totally cool. Like, this is all a learning experience. Listen, we don't know until we know it, right? And again, I'm not a guru and I don't know everything, but I am so confident on these things. It's kind of like I know the sky is blue and I know gravity exists, and if I throw a ball up in the air, it's going to come down. That's how crystal clear I feel about that. Okay. So this is kind of good. If you want to get what everybody else gets, do what everybody else does. So many people out there roll, and it's the wrong thing. Okay. So margin. We talked about margin before, but I just want to I want to go through a couple of these slides. I don't really have many more, I don't think. It's borrowing money from the bank. You're going to lose long term unless somebody helps you, unless you have some sort of technology, right? So it's interesting the way brokerage firms are structured, because I don't know, I've been around the block and I've been trading a really long time, and there's no like technology that exists where it can help you identify a margin call sooner. I am creating these tools. They're not, I use them myself, but they're not ready for like public distribution. Make sure you guys are on my inner circle. That way it's free anyway. And sometimes I send emails to people that say, hey, I'm doing this, or hey, I got this tool available. When that's created, I can let you know. But basically, if you're using margin and you're not modeling price drops, you're not saying, okay, if my stock goes down 50%, do I have enough money in my account, or am I going to blow up my account? You will blow up an account at some point. It's just a matter of time. It's like without question. Paper trading, I just, don't do it. I mean, you can do it if you want. I was doing this live stream last week, using a paper trading account, and I never really paper traded before, and I didn't realize the restrictions with paper trading. Like, you can put a trade in, but maybe it doesn't even fill if there's not an actual trade that goes in the real market against it. You're better off just starting with practicing. Like, just practice on something cheap. Here's another cheap one. I don't have this myself, but I think it's a good stock, and I might get some at some point. Big Bear AI. Like, they got this big contract with the government recently. It's a $6 stock. I mean, again, I'm not specifically recommending anything because it's your money. You got to do what you think is best. But if you're selling, like, let's say a $5.50 cent put on a stock, the worst that's going to happen is you lose $550. I don't know, it's not the end of the world. Like, this might be a good stock that you trade on, that you get your feet wet on, like start on, right? So Big Bear AI is 606 per share. Let's say I wanted to sell a $5.50 put. It last traded at $14, right? The delta on it is 22. Let's look at a chart real quick. I mean, here's a 1-year chart, right? AI is good. And this company, they got like a lot of government contracts. I don't think they're going to go out of business tomorrow. So in the grand scheme of things, I think it's relatively safe, and it's a good stock to get your feet wet on. A $5.50 put that last traded at $14, $14 divided by five, literally $550 to make this trade. Not even using margin, like just putting up all your money. You're making 2.5% on your money in 1 week. I mean, what's that rate of return? Monstrous, 132%. So instead of paper trading, just use a real trade. Let me go through some more of these questions, and let me know if you think this is good content. I just want to let you know I have thick skin, and I'm very open to feedback. So if you think, like, hey, like, she shouldn't say the F word, like, just tell me that. Sometimes I think it's necessary to enunciate yourself, or let's say, I don't know, I'm talking too fast. Tell me. Like, I want you guys to give me good feedback, because then I can tailor my future sessions. Let's see what other questions we have. Yeah. Don't be embarrassed. Don't anybody be embarrassed. And you're most welcome. Let's see. I traded Irene. Irene is interesting. Let's look at Irene. So Nikki says, I traded Irene at $48 last week, but it closed at 46. So do I sell a covered call on Monday? But at what strike price to recover? I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but let's look at Irene is like a crypto company, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So I always look at the chart first, right? Super flat, flat, flat. Oh my gosh, went super up, and then it came down quite a bit. So right now it's $46 a share. It traded Irene at 48 last week, but it closed at 46. So do I sell a covered call on Monday? I'm assuming what you mean is that you own 100 shares at 48, I think is what you're saying. So if that's what you mean, if you purchased the shares at $48, you're going to sell a $48 call. And you're going to sell a $48 call tomorrow morning, preferably, or whenever it works for your schedule. So here's November 21. So you're going to do a November 21. Again, I'm not telling you what to do, but my suggestion. So if you own it at $48 and it's down to $46, you want to sell a strike price, at least the price at which you own the shares or higher. I think if you own the shares at $48, I would sell a strike a $48 call. If you own the shares at $48.50, I would sell a $49 call. I wouldn't go higher because I would want to get the most amount of money and then get rid of your shares if you have to. Good question. What's a good result year after year? 10, 20, 30%? Yeah. I mean, I usually make more. I mean, I'm trying to take trades that make 100% return, and then you can have some, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna buy some and maybe go a little bit of time where if the stock goes down, I'm not taking in much income on those shares. All day long, you should be making yourself more than 20, like way north of 20% per year. Of course, there's no guarantee, but it's probably closer to 30, 40, 50. Andrea says I sold a call on APLD for 34.70. It dropped down to 24. Let's look at Applied Digital. I think I did a video on this recently. So we always look at the chart first. So we take a look. Okay, it's going down, it's going up, and then it came down a lot, right? Don't be afraid when the stuff comes down. It's okay. I sold a call on Applied for 34.70. It dropped down to, I don't know how you guys want to get in the habit of saying things the right way. Like you'd want to say, like, I sold a $35 call for, $1.20. Like if you say the words for, that's like for how much premium you got paid. And then you would say, like, I sold a $35 call. 35 would be the strike price, is how you want to say that. It dropped down to $24.73. I am buying 20 shares every time the price changes to average my cost down. Would that be a good way to maintain the position while waiting for it to be called away so I can go over to the put side? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. So put, maybe rephrase that in another question. Maybe one of these sessions I should have people with microphones. Maybe that might be easier. I'm going to think about doing that for the next one because sometimes in writing it's a little bit hard to understand. I'm going to answer what I think you're asking. Generally, I don't do 20 shares here, 20 shares there. You can do that. It's kind of a pain in the neck to keep track of. You might do that if you have a smaller account and doesn't make it wrong, but you want to be conscious of wash sales. So let's say you buy 20 shares here, 20 shares here, 20 shares here, at these different prices, and then you sell a covered call at your average price. If you use an average price when you're selling a call and not like a specific 100 lot that you purchased those 100 shares for, you're not going to be able to buy that stock for another 30 days because it's going to trigger a wash sale. I'm not going to go into details on why or what that means, but just know that you can't trade that. You can't buy that stock again for 30 days. And then if you want to clarify in another comment, I can answer. What percent of margin is safe? It's not like you don't really look at margin as a percent. You look at margin is really like involved to understand it clearly. You really look at like, okay, I have 100 shares of this. I have 100 shares of this. I have, a short put on this. If that stock dropped, 50%, or if that stock dropped 20%, is that going to create a margin call? At some point, I just haven't had time, honestly. But at some point, I do have a working model that I use. It's just not ready for public. I need to take some time to make that ready for public distribution because it's super helpful. It's not in answer to your question, Ulrich, about what percentage of margin is safe. I don't really look at it from a percent standpoint. You really want to put all your stuff into a spreadsheet and then say, okay, if this stock goes down X percent, does that trigger a margin call? If this stock goes down X%, absent, if you don't have that, I wouldn't even use margin, honestly, because you're going to blow up an account if you do. When you buy back your put, do you buy back at the ask or does it not matter? That's a good question. So let's look at, let's say, I don't know, I'm on Applied Digital right now. Let's say I had a put right now. And let's say I had I don't know, an $18 put and it's $23 right now and I wanted to buy it back. If you're buying back at the ask, it gets filled right away, right? Because that's the bigger number. If you're a little bit higher than the midpoint, if I'm buying it back, it will probably get filled. It really all depends. So, I mean, I look to enter a trade that's probably going to be filled. So you would look to use that. You could just do it automatically at the ask. This is probably a bad example because it's got like a wide spread. And also, I'm looking at the 21st and it's only the 16th. I think that answers your question though. You would buy it back at the ask if you want it to be filled right away, or you can try to get a better fill, is my answer. So let me read some of these. Even the larger premiums don't seem like much to live off of. How much do you have to sell to really make a living? And how much do you have to have in capital to do this without margin? Well, that's a good question. So, I mean, I kind of target like 50% as like a good rule of thumb. So let's say if you have, let's just pull up a calculator. So as an example, let's say you're starting with 100 grand and you're making 50% return. That's 50 grand and that's $1,000 a week. I mean, everybody, like when you say doesn't, like that's not much, like everybody's idea of like a little bit of money or a lot of money is all different. If you have 100 grand, you're probably going to make, $1,000 a week pretty comfortably because you're going to calculate it like this. And it could be more or less, right? Like I'm just trying to give you like an approximation. But 100,000, if you're making a 50% annualized rate of return and you're making income weekly, you're making about $1,000 a week. If you have, 200,000, that number is going to be higher. So that's kind of how you want to look at that. That's probably without using margin. You can use margin and do it in a smart way. And I use margin. Margin is not something to be afraid of. You just have to make sure you understand it, and you have to make sure that you don't over leverage. That's the important part about margin. So somebody said, do you offer one-on-one mentorship? I do. Thank you for asking. Amaris, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. I do offer that, and it's not for everybody, but I did put this on here. It was kind of like toward the end of my thing anyway. I'm going to answer that in a moment. Here's some things I'm gonna when I post this video on YouTube, I'm gonna have these links in the like a pinned comment or something. These are some things for next steps, and then I'm gonna answer your question about mentorship. This is the free it's like a email list really that I had mentioned before, and it's free. And I just send people like when I plan this session here, before I put it like advertise it on YouTube, I sent it out to the people on this list because I only had 100 seats. But you want to join that, and then like for example, when I get my margin application ready for distribution, I'm going to send that to people on this list. So make sure you guys are on here. These are like next steps, right? I do have a Discord channel, although Discord has honestly, without question, been like a gigantic thorn in my side. I have it as like sort of like a community where people can chat with one another. Hey, share your trade ideas, share this, share that. What's been happening is I've had people pretending to be me and like messaging people. I don't message anybody on Discord, private message. I don't friend request anybody. I don't accept anybody's friend request. I post things is all, and it's really meant as a community. But it's been annoying because there's a lot of like scammers out there that pretend to be me and like message people and stuff. But in the meantime, I do have this Discord community. I do have like this amazing YouTube channel, and thank you guys all for being a part of that. I am like most grateful. Man, I think I'm almost at 4,000 subscribers now. And I think I'm making like $1,000 a month on YouTube. Or I will be soon, which is not bad. It's kind of like Zig Ziglar says, you once you give everybody what they want, you get what you want. So like, I don't know. I think that would be I think it's the ego in me. It's kind of cool to like be a YouTuber, right? I'm 52. in age. And usually it's like younger people are YouTubers. I think it's kind of cool. And I make some money off of it. So this is not a bad deal. But that's my YouTube. Option. I want to go through this. I want to answer about the one-on-one mentorship too. You can start or you can do nothing. Listen, there is nothing worse than somebody who like wants to do something, learns to do something, and then just does nothing. I've experienced people in my life, like some friends, some people that have reached out to me on mentorship and do nothing. I mean, if that's you, that's cool. But I think options trading can like absolutely change your life. And to learn all this stuff, and it's not that hard, just two strategies and then do nothing. Don't take that. Do something. Like start, just start. And I have people sometimes email me like, I don't know if Valerie's on this call, but Valerie's I just know her name because she's been on some of these calls before. She sent me an email the other day, and I think she was on the live stream, and I think she might. Lots of people ask questions on the live stream. I don't get to all of them, and maybe I won't get to all these either. She sent me an email about something that she was trading, and then I helped her. You know what I mean? Feel free to email me. I'll let you know if I can't help you or if I don't want to help you or something. But no, I'm here to help people. The one-on-one private mentorship, I do that with some people. So now I'm answering your question, and I don't want this to be about like, hey, I'm selling something at the end, but hey, this is a platform that is valuable for some people. So typically, this is like what I have going now is like a 1 month program. It's 8 live sessions. We walk through everything together. Is there a cost? Yeah, it's $8,000 because for me to do it for less, it just doesn't make sense because I got a lot of other things that I'm doing. So I need to get paid. But for people that have like over 100,000, I mean, the tuition is $8,000 and if you listen and we work together and I show you exactly how you can multiply like over and over again that cash. What I'm doing is I'm not giving people fish. I'm teaching people how to fish, right? And for somebody that has at least $100,000, it makes a lot of sense because you'll make multiples of that 8,000 back in your trades. And you have that skill for the whole rest of your life. So it's not for everybody. And it has to be a good fit. Generally, the thing is you would send me an email. I can give you some more details. We have like a 20-minute free Zoom session. We see each other. I ask you some questions. You ask me some questions, and we see if it's a good fit. And if it is great, we schedule it. And if it's not, that's cool too. But yes, I do have that. Let's see. Andrea says, I love your I love your authenticity. Dropping the F-bomb is hilarious, and the way you explain everything is so clear. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. I try not to swear because I know some people, first of all, on YouTube, it messes with my like I think I can get in trouble actually because there's ads that run and that's not a good thing. And then some people do get offended, so I try not to say it, but sometimes I do say it. So thank you for not being bothered by that. Feedback only. Please don't stand in front of the window in your apartment. That's good feedback. And I appreciate that that you're saying that. The reason is that the background is great, but it detracts the focus from you. Seriously jealous of your view. I have to say, first of all, I never get offended. So, and I 100% appreciate the feedback. I know that I'm working on that. So recently I got this microphone, this DJI microphone, and also I'm moving from this apartment soon. I'm going back to LA. So my lease is up here in February. The view is sick. I'm on like the 70th floor of a super high building, 80 stories in this building, downtown New York City. So it's a great spot and the views are great. But yeah, I guess my point is I didn't want to like be buying like I need a lamp. And I have whiteboards all over my apartment. My apartment's kind of small, believe it or not. I mean, it's New York City, so I guess you probably do believe it. But I have whiteboards all over the place. So I never like I wouldn't want, and it's kind of personal stuff written on my whiteboard. So yeah, the views here are not that good, but I am consciously working on making better videos. I'm going to LA Thursday, and when I'm in LA, I do some videos with my daughter, and we go to like, common. My kids live in an apartment with cool amenities, and I have amenities here, but I guess I just never use them. But I am going to be doing that more often. The videos take me a while, believe it or not. So I record them, and first I have to think about what to say, and then I have to edit them after, create a thumbnail and the title description. It takes a little bit of time, but as I move forward, I am gonna be more conscious of that and make them be a better background. So thank you for that feedback. Let's see. Somebody sold. I sold. I don't know what this is. QUBT. Put at a strike price $10, premium $35, and it closed at 10.60. Let's look at that. Let me answer that for you, Nikki. So the ticker, I don't even know what this is. QUBT. QUBT. Let's see. QUBT. Let me just look at it, see what it is. QUBT stock. Quantum computing. Oh, I think somebody else asked me about this recently. Okay, cool. So they are, what do they do? I don't know, not a whole lot of stuff on here. Headquartered out of New Jersey, right across the bridge from me, I guess. Let's take a look at the chart first. So here's quantum computing. Whoa, up a lot, down, up. See how all stocks go up and down. Right now it's 10.60 per share. So Nikki says I sold a put rather, at a strike price of $10. The premium was $35 and it closed at 10.60. So I don't own it. Is that correct? It's still showing in my position. That's a really good question, and I'm glad that you asked that, Nikki. And I'm glad all you guys are here, and I'm also glad that you guys are asking questions, and I appreciate that. Here's the way that works. Okay, so let's say you sell a $10 put, right? Anytime it drops below $10, it's up to the actual person on the other side of that contract if they want to assign it or not. That means that, and I'm going to answer your question, but I'm giving you a little bit more detail as well. I know you didn't ask for it, but I want to explain the whole thing, make sure everybody's crystal clear. When you sell a $10 put, anytime it drops below $10, even before the contract expires, the person that owns that particular contract, let's say Jane Doe in Idaho, there's a person that's tagged to that contract, they can assign that. So, but most contracts only get assigned at expiration, meaning when it expires, like at the close on Friday, right? So that's important. I just threw that extra info in because I didn't talk about it before. If it's a $10 put and it's trading at 10.60, it's probably not gonna, it's not in the money, right? So contracts are either in the money, out of the money, at the money, meaning that, if it's a $10 put, it would have to be lower than $10 for it to be valuable for somebody to assign that contract. Now, different brokerages work differently. So I don't know who you're with for trading. I'm with Schwab as an example, Thinkorswim. If I had a $10 put, once it expired on Saturday, I wouldn't see it showing in my positions anymore. It would be gone. And let's say it closed at like $9.99. Technically, I would be buying the shares at $10. However, sometimes it doesn't even go through. So sometimes when it's a few pennies, one way or another, it's like usually if it's underneath $10, you will be assigned and it will automatically show up. Those shares will automatically show up in your account on Saturday or Monday for sure. But being that it closed at 10.60, no, you don't own the shares. You want to make sure that you don't see them in your brokerage account. But if you don't see them now, I think you're saying it's still showing your position. Maybe the short put is still showing in your positions. It's okay. You don't own the shares. No, that's a good question. Let's see a couple more questions. We're going to just go through a couple more questions. Oh, and Valerie did put a comment. I don't know. Can everybody see everybody's questions on here? I don't know if they can. Yes, Michelle, you have answered my question via email, and it was very helpful and much appreciated. Thanks for being here, Valerie. Appreciate you. So Andrea wanted to rephrase the applied digital, APLD. So let me go back because I want to make sure everybody gets what they came for, right? So applied digital is $23.65 per share. So your cost basis is $34.70, and you haven't sold a call because it's so far away from the current price. That's a good point. So Andrea, that does happen. So sometimes as things come down, it makes it maybe not worth it. So let's take a look at it. Let me see what else you wrote here. Your cost basis is $34.70. I have been trying to lower my cost basis by repurchasing shares a little bit at a time. Okay, that's good. until the stock goes back up. I want to sell the shares without a loss so I can sell a put. I'm still learning the lingo. Good job. We're all like spinning around this like round thing, learning. It's all good. So let's just take a look at and see the $35 call, because your cost basis is 34.70, right? So 34.70, so a $35 call. Yeah, it's not worth that much. It's only $5. So oftentimes when it's not that much, I don't even bother selling a call. I'm not super familiar with Applied Digital. I did a couple of videos on this before. I mean, I think it's a solid company. Again, I'm not making specific recommendations. Things go up and they go down and they go back. Good companies go back up and go up over the long term. So it's totally okay that you're buying more shares and averaging your cost down as it comes down. And sometimes buying, I don't know if it was you who talked about buying 20 shares. It's okay buying 20 shares. Just keep in mind, just don't buy more shares for 30 days after you sell them because of that wash sale rule. But, sometimes it makes sense, like, hey, I'm going to buy 10 shares as it comes down. I can't sell a put maybe because that's 100 shares, but I'm going to average my cost down. And we're all still learning. It's all good. So Valerie, I got your message here. Webull, I never traded with Webull before, so I'm not super familiar with how that platform works. Why is it not worth it to sell a covered call when the cost basis and strike price are so far away? Premium is premium. That's a really good point, Brian. Actually, that's a fair point. It's kind of like a lot of this stuff is like not necessarily right or wrong. It's like potato, what you want to do. I would say this though. Let's see Applied Digital as an example. Let me just move this over here. 23.65 per share. And if we look at the implied volatility, it's super, super high. So implied volatility means it goes up a lot and it goes down a lot. So if you were to sell a $35 call and make $5, I would say this, $5, not that much money. You're right, premium is premium. Maybe you want to take that. However, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday could be where this stock goes up 10, 20%, something like that, because it does have a lot of volatility. And if it pops a lot, instead of being $5, it's going to be $50. So me, I'd rather instead of, I don't know. I guess it's all, there's no right or wrong answer. For me, instead of making $5, because it's not that much money, I would rather wait and maybe make $50 in a couple days. But that's a good point, Brian. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, and by the way, this $8,000, it's like a first session guarantee. Like you pay 8,000, you get 8 sessions. We work together. We have a free 20-minute like intro kind of thing, or about that, whatever, to see if it's a good fit. And then after the first session, if it's not for you, I send you your money back. Listen, I'm not here to make any 8,000 off anybody. I'm here to be compensated for my time and knowledge, that kind of thing. But I don't want to work with people that if it's not a good fit. So that said, what I mean by that is after the first session, if it's not what you thought it was going to be, or if you don't see the value in it, I send your money back, and no hard feelings, right? You also get text my number, not that my personal phone number means a lot, but I think it means a little bit, and email. And if you have questions in between sessions, I'm happy to help, and the recordings and stuff like that. So I want to throw that in there as well, not just like the 8 grand and give people sticker shock. So yeah, anyway, that is that's all the content that I had. I'm not gonna go any longer if we don't have any other questions. And I appreciate the claps and the hearts. My throat is really bothering me, and I think it's just the weather in New York is just terrible. I definitely want to wrap up by saying a couple things. First of all, thank you for the love and the support. I really appreciate that. My ego feels good about that. And I really hope that this helped. Look at all those hearts. I appreciate that. Watch this video again on YouTube, and I'm going to put the links on YouTube as well. If I didn't answer your question, or if you had feedback that you didn't want other people to see, because I think everybody sees the questions on here, send me an email. I answer everybody. I don't think I ever ignoring people is just not my MO anyway. Yeah, my intention is I want you guys to learn and I want you guys to live an amazing life. I mean, here's the thing, your success does not minimize my success. A couple times people would say, why are you telling people like all these secrets? Like if too many people do it, then it's not going to be here anymore. First of all, options been around for, I don't even know, long, long, long time. And a bunch of people on YouTube that start trading because I'm talking about it on YouTube are not going to like crash the market or change the market or anything like that. Somebody said started put options because of your teachings. Yeah, like here's the thing, like your success does not minimize my success. And if everybody's successful, I mean, wouldn't the world be a much more beautiful place? That's kind of, I know that might sound corny, but I don't mean that in a corny way. So I'm passionate about options and I'm passionate about teaching. I think I'm pretty good at teaching too. And yeah, I enjoy doing it. So it's kind of like gives me, fulfillment inside. So hopefully that was helpful. I want to thank you guys for your attention. Let me know if there's anything else that you guys want to see. As I do my videos, I want to just, share what's helpful for you guys. And yeah, cheers for now. See ya.